Hi everyone, today we're crocheting these really cute and comfy shorts for the summer. I'll be making these in a US size small, but they can be adjusted to fit any size, which I'll explain how to do throughout the video. Onto the materials, I'm using about 170 grams of acrylic yarn, and you can use any yarn that you have on hand. To make the stripe pattern, I'll be switching between 3 colors. I'm using white, green, and black. I'm also using a 4mm and 5mm crochet hook, and the smaller hook is optional. We'll be using that to just make the waistband. You'll also need a pair of scissors, some stitch markers, a yarn needle, and some measuring tape to help with our measurements. To begin, create a slip knot. Take the shorter end of yarn and cross it over the longer tail of yarn. Then with this long piece of yarn, we'll insert it into this hole that was created and pull up to tighten. Insert your crochet hook into the hole and chain 11. To make a chain, yarn over and pull through the loop on the hook. Repeat this for a total of 11 chains, and you can make it longer or shorter depending on the width of the waistband that you want. So I did 11 chains, and this measures about 2 inches. To start row 1, we're going to half double crochet in the second chain from the hook. Yarn over and insert your crochet hook into that chain. Yarn over, pull up a loop. You should have 3 loops on the hook. We'll yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Half double crochet in each chain until the end of the row. At the end of the row, you should have a total of 10 half double crochets. And now we're going to add rows until it can fit around our waist. To add a new row, we'll chain 1 and turn our work over like this. Now if you look at it from the top, you can see that there's V's, and we're going to be working in the back loops only in each of those V's. So that means we're going to go in from the top and through the V and out the back. So yarn over and insert your crochet hook into that back loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on the hook. And in the next stitch, we'll do the same thing. So yarn over, insert in the back loop, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Half double crochet in the back loops only until the end of the row. And at the end of the row, you should have 10 stitches. So repeat row 2 until you have a waistband that's long enough to wrap around where you want it to sit on your body. So for reference, I'm making a size small, and I made my waistband around 33.5 inches or 85 centimeters long. So it's going to sit right around here, and I did a total of 78 rows. And you want to account for some stretching as well, so be sure to make it smaller than your actual measurements. Next, we'll fold our band in half, and we're going to connect both ends together. So chain 1, turn your work, and be sure that there's no twist in your band. To sew this together, we're going to insert our crochet hook into the back loop on the bottom part. So this is my back loop right here. And through the back loop, we're going to go into this top part, picking up both loops in the first stitch. Insert your crochet hook into the back loop on the bottom part, and then insert it into those 2 loops at the top, yarn over, pull up a loop, and pull that loop through the loop on the hook. So that's our slip stitch, and we're going to slip stitch all the way across. So I went into the back loop and then going into 2 loops at the top, yarn over, pull up a loop, and pull that loop through the loop on the hook. Continue this method of slip stitching all the way across. I'm finishing up my last slip stitch, and here's what it should look like with both ends connected. Next, we're going to work along the side of our ribbed rows. So first I'm removing my smaller crochet hook, and to demonstrate where we're going to do the half double crochets, we have a ridge here and 2 rows in between each ridges. So this is a row, and this is a ridge. So we'll be working a half double crochet into the side of each of these rows. First, we'll insert our 5mm crochet hook, and then we're going to change to our first color. So grab whatever color you're using first. In my case, I'm using green. So I'm gonna grab my green yarn and loop it onto the hook and pull that through the white loop. And we can use our white yarn to tighten that loop around the hook. And with the tail of green yarn, I'm going to tie a knot with my white yarn so that it's fully attached. And throughout this project, we won't be cutting off any of the yarn. We're going to just pick it back up whenever we are changing colors. So right now, the outside of the shorts is facing me, so we want to make sure that any loose strands or loose yarn that we have is in the inside. To start row 1, chain 1. Half double crochet into the side of each row. So for my first row, which is right here, we'll yarn over and insert your crochet hook into the top of that first row. So I'm going under any loops along the side of that first row, and we'll yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on the hook. So we finished the side of the first row, and to work our second row, I'm going to yarn over, insert the crochet hook under at least 2 loops into the side of that row, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. When you get to the ridge, we'll work our half double crochet into this space right below the hole at the top. So we'll work into this space right here. Yarn over and insert your crochet hook into that space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on the hook. And we'll repeat this pattern of half double crochet into the side of every row until the end of the round. We'll work into the side of the next 2 rows, and then the ridge, followed by the next 2 rows, and then the ridge all the way around. When you make it all the way around, the last half double crochet should go into the side of this ridge. Before finishing the half double crochet and the round, we'll change to our next color. So drop the green yarn and leave the 3 loops on your hook. Pick up your next color. I'm using black for my 3rd color. And we'll loop this onto our crochet hook. And remember to keep the tail on the inside. So pull through all 3 loops on the hook with your black yarn, and then take the green yarn that we just worked with and tie a knot with our black tail of yarn. So we'll do the color changes before ending every round. So when you do your last half double crochet, leave it unfinished, and then grab your new color and then pull it through. And finally, we'll slip stitch to the first half double crochet that we did. So insert your crochet hook into that first half double crochet, yarn over, pull through, and pull through the loop on the hook. So now we're ready to use the black yarn for our next row. To start row 2, we'll chain 1 and turn. We're going to half double crochet into every stitch. So if we look at this, this is our chain and this is the slip stitch that we just did. So where this green stitch is will be our first half double crochet. So yarn over, insert the crochet hook underneath that V, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Half double crochet in each stitch until the end of the round. In the last stitch of the round, we'll work 2 half double crochets. I'm working my first half double crochet, and for the second one, we'll start working our regular half double crochet, but we want to leave it unfinished, so we'll drop our black yarn and pick up our white yarn, which is the next color in the sequence, and pull that through to finish the half double crochet. So now we have green, black, and we've changed to white. We'll slip stitch into the first half double crochet. And we'll tighten our yarn. Before we start row 3, to make it easier throughout the project, I'm going to mark the correct side or the right side of my work. And you can use a stitch marker, safety pin, or bobby pin to mark whatever side you're using as your correct side. So this will help me remember to keep all my loose ends on the inside of the project. For round 3, we're going to be increasing at the hips. We'll place our project so that the tails are directly in the center, and we're going to place stitch markers at both of these ends. To calculate which stitch to mark, you can take the number of stitches that you have in your last round and divide that by 2, and then divide it by 2 again. And whatever that number is, we're going to count starting from the center and count up to that stitch on both ends. So I've marked the 30th stitch on both sides. After marking the stitches, we can chain 1, turn our work, and begin round 3. Half double crochet in each stitch until you reach the first stitch marker. When you reach the first stitch marker, go ahead and remove it, and we're going to place 2 half double crochets inside of that stitch. So I'll work my first half double crochet, and back into that same stitch we'll work another half double crochet. So that represents our first increase, and we'll take our stitch marker and put it back in the center of those stitches. Half double crochet in each stitch until you reach the next stitch marker. I'm at the second stitch marker, so I'll remove this and work 2 half double crochets inside of that stitch. So there's one, and here's the second one. Insert your stitch marker back in, and then work half double crochets in each stitch until the end of the round. Work 1 half double crochet into the last stitch, but leave it unfinished. So the next color that I'm switching to is green. So drop the white yarn to the wrong side of the project, pick up our green yarn, and pull through all 3 loops with the green. And we can tug on the white yarn to tighten that stitch. and then we'll slip stitch to the top of the first half double crochet. For round 4, we're going to repeat our increases that we did in round 3. So chain 1, turn your work, and work a half double crochet in each stitch until you reach the stitch markers. When you get to the first stitch marker, we'll work 2 half double crochets inside of that stitch. Place your stitch marker back in the center of those stitches and continue to work half double crochets until you reach the next stitch marker. I'm approaching my second stitch marker, and I'll remove it and work an increase inside of that stitch. So place 2 half double crochets inside of that stitch, clip your stitch marker back in, and then work half double crochets until the end of the round. At the end of the round, we'll work an unfinished half double crochet. I'm dropping my green yarn and switching back to black. Pull through all 3 loops with the black yarn. And then we can slip stitch to the top of the first half double crochet. Continue to increase at the hips until the shorts are comfortable around your waist. I recommend trying it on as you're working on increase rounds to see if it fits properly or if you need to make any adjustments to the number of increases that we're doing. For my shorts, I stopped after 5 rounds of increasing from where we left off. So starting from here, I have a total of 7 rounds of increases. Before we move forward, I recommend you try on your shorts to see if you like the fit around your hips. For this next part, we're going to increase at the back or bottom area where our butt is sitting. To figure out where to place the stitch markers, I'm going to count the number of stitches I have from the center point to each stitch marker that's on the side. So you can start with either side and just count how many stitches you have up to that stitch marker. We can divide that by 2, and whatever that number is, we'll place the stitch marker into that stitch. So I had 30 stitches in between my center point and the side stitch markers, so I'm placing my marker into the 15th stitch. Once you have everything placed, for the next round, we're going to be increasing at these 4 different points. To start the next round, we'll chain 1 and turn our work. Place 1 half double crochet in each stitch until you reach the first stitch marker. When you reach the first stitch marker, remove that marker and place 2 half double crochets into that stitch. Place your stitch marker back in between the 2 stitches and work a half double crochet in each stitch until you reach the next stitch marker. At the second stitch marker, place 2 half double crochets. And half double crochet in each stitch until you reach the third stitch marker. At the third stitch marker, place 2 half double crochets. Half double crochet in each stitch until you reach the 4th stitch marker. At the final stitch marker, place 2 half double crochets. Half double crochet in each stitch until the end of the round. In the last stitch, we'll change back to our black yarn, tighten that green, and slip stitch into our first half double crochet. For the next round, we'll repeat the increases that we just worked on. So chain 1, turn your work, and half double crochet in each stitch. And when you reach the stitch markers, place 2 half double crochets in each one. After finishing that round, here's what my shorts look like so far. So I stopped increasing the butt area after 2 rounds of increases. After we increase, we'll just work regular rounds of half double crochet stitches until your short reaches the desired length. So mine is 9 inches long and 16.5 inches wide. And also remember to try it on after every few rounds to make sure that it fits. I'm coming up at the end of round 30 and working my last half double crochet stitch, dropping the white yarn and picking up my green yarn. Slip stitch into the first half double crochet stitch. After you reach your desired length for the body of the shorts, we can start working on the crotch area. I'm going to chain 1, and to explain how this works, we're going to be splitting this opening at the bottom into 2 separate leg holes. First, we'll count the number of stitches we have in our last round. Starting from here, I'm going to count all the way around and up until this stitch. And we can divide that by 2 and place our stitch marker in that halfway point. So for mine, I had to place it in the 60th stitch, which is directly across from the center. Next, we'll chain the length of the crotch, so when you try on your shorts, look at the distance between the front and back, and that's the length that we're going to chain. So I already have 1 chain, and I'm going to chain 14 more on top of that. If you want it to be more fitted, then you can do fewer chains or more chains for it to be looser. Slip stitch into the stitch to the left of our stitch marker. So I'm pulling the yarn through and then pulling it through the loop on my hook. So now our shorts are split into 2 leg holes, and now is a good time to try it on to make sure that it's a good number of chains. To start the first round of the leg hole, we'll chain 1, and we'll work a half double crochet into the same stitch that we slip stitched into. Half double crochet into the next stitch. And we'll work a half double crochet in each stitch around the leg hole until we reach the other side of the chain. When you make it all the way around, be sure to work your last half double crochet into this stitch right before the chain. And now to work the chain, we're going to do a half double crochet into each of the chains across. So this will be the first chain, and I'm going to yarn over and insert my crochet hook into that chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. Continue to half double crochet in each chain until you have 1 chain remaining. When you reach the last chain, we'll work an unfinished half double crochet. First, I'm going to snip off the black and white yarn at the bottom because it's too far away to pull up, and I'm going to tie a knot to secure that in place. We're going to attach our black yarn, so we'll start by working a half double crochet into that last chain, drop the green yarn and pick up the black yarn and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. And we can tie a knot with our tail from the black yarn and the green yarn. Slip stitch to the top of the first half double crochet stitch. And remember to keep all the loose ends on the inside of the project. To start the next round, chain 1 and turn your work. We're going to work a half double crochet in each stitch all the way around. So I'm working my half double crochets down the crotch area and just work all the way around until you reach the other end. I'm at my last half double crochet stitch and I'm going to change back to my 3rd color. So I'm dropping the black yarn, making sure it's on the wrong side of my work, and I'll loop the white yarn onto my hook and pull through all 3 loops. And tie a knot with the white tail of yarn and the black yarn. Slip stitch to the top of the first half double crochet. We'll repeat the pattern of chain 1, turn your work, and half double crochet in each stitch all the way around the leg hole until you reach your desired length. For my shorts, I decided to do the last few rounds in white, so this is 1 round of the white, and I'm going to work 3 additional rounds in the same color, but you can choose to continue alternating the colors if you'd like. When you're happy with the length of the leg hole, we can slip stitch to the top of the first half double crochet and chain 1 to fasten off. Cut the yarn and pull it through. We finished the first leg hole, and here's what it looks like. And this is still facing the wrong side, so I haven't turned it inside out yet. To start the other leg hole, we'll take our crochet hook and insert it into the stitch with the stitch marker. And then we'll grab our green yarn and we'll loop that onto the hook and pull through. Chain 1, and we'll work our first half double crochet into this corner stitch right here. And we'll start working along the same chain. So this is the crotch area, and I'm just going to work a half double crochet in each stitch across. So there should be these bumps for each chain, and we'll just go underneath 2 loops in each of those bumps. And after you work the half double crochets in the chain, we'll just work around the leg hole. When you get to the end of the round, we'll switch back to our black color, and we can snip off the green yarn. And I'm going to take 2 loose ends with the black and green and make a knot. Then we can slip stitch to the top of the first half double crochet. And we'll just repeat working half double crochets all the way around, making sure that we follow the same sequence that we did on the other leg hole. So I'm placing a half double crochet in each stitch, and when you make it all the way around, then we can switch to our white color and work 4 additional rounds in white. At the end, we'll slip stitch to the top of the first half double crochet and chain 1 to fasten off. Cut off the yarn and pull it through and tighten. Here's a preview of the shorts after turning it inside out. You can see that the back side hides the color changes that we did along the seam. For the last part, we'll weave in our loose ends, so go ahead and turn your shorts back to the wrong side. Take your sewing needle and thread any loose strand of yarn into the hole. So I'm starting with my white, and what I'll do is insert my sewing needle into a few loops in the inside. So I'm just picking up a few loops and pulling through to hide the yarn. And we can do this in multiple directions. And you can do this wherever you feel necessary. Once you're finished, you can cut off the yarn, and for any shorter loose ends, I'm just snipping that off since we already tied knots. So I'm weaving in the remaining loose ends, and after I finished, I turned my shorts inside out, and here's what it looks like. I hope this project was fun and the shorts fit you the way that you want. The stripe pattern was really cute, and it's super comfortable to wear outside or just inside when you're lounging around. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content like this. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a really great day.